Okay, welcome back. We're going to continue on. Let's do the pink ones. Pink maybe leaning a little red or so. And, like I showed you before, here's my palette that we just did 57 with, the last lesson with. And I just take a paper towel here, and I'm just going to go through. Now, you can see, it's been, well, I took a little break between the videos, so it's been, some of this color has been on here an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. You can see how it still comes off. Now, it won't do that after like 3-4 hours. It won't do that. But this is how you can take and do blending and stuff too, with a little bit of water. Even though your color is, looks fairly dry, you can still do a little bit of pushing around and blending with it for a while if you add the solvent, which is water, and it cleans up really nice. So use your palette every once in a while. Just wipe down your palette so that you have a nice clean area in which to work, okay? And that works very well. All right, here we have the board here again. I'll go grab my 3/4 inch brush here. Let's put down some nice color pink. I always love pink coming off of burnt sienna. Maybe burnt sienna, a little bit of blue. Nice contrasting color. Let's paint this time a little more contrast. Let's put a nice contrasting color right back in here like this. Maybe some of this coming out like that. I just, just get some stuff going. You can paint this on a solid background if you don't like the movement that like I put in here onto the back. You can paint it on a solid background as well, or you can streak it through or do anything with your background that you like. But I do like the contemporary movement and stuff that I do sometimes with this. Let's take a damp paper towel, just a little bit of water through here. And just moves through some of that, just to pull some of that through, and then I'll restate some of it again. Just keeps a softer look, a different look. I used to always like everything so smooth, and nowadays I like everything with this nice contemporary movement that we can give it. I just think it just adds so much to the life and energy of the painting, and I'm one that really likes movement into the background now. It just, and you can soften it out. You can take it to your edge of your paper towel and, blow through and soften out. I'll leave some of that stuff. Sometimes I'll put a blue or something into it as well, different colors. You can look through all the rose paintings and stuff that I've done, and you can see all kinds of examples of it. Okay, I'm going to put that brush into the water. We'll go grab a brush here. An older one, same type of one, same one I was using last time. Grab yourself an 8 or a 10. Let's make ourselves, we have a warm red, which makes our warm, like we did from the single rose lesson. This is our warmer pink. This is our cooler pink here. And this quinacridone violet makes a nice cool, so you can see the warm and the cool. And you can start right between the two of them too with some pink. We'll paint just a little bit faster. We've done pink roses before. We'll paint just a little faster, a little more contrast. Let's put some of this pink out. As a matter of fact, let me change this up. We've leaned quite a few roses up over that side. Let's lean it up over this side here, like this. And you might think, okay, now what are you going to do with that little blob there? I could wipe it all down, but what I tend to do is I'll just come through and start to paint it out with some more color. That's where I like, I don't let things worry me. It's just, I could take some green, some other color, I could just take it out. We can put some of our greens in. And all of this that you do is just going to make your flowers so pretty if you leave it, if you don't play with it, if you leave that energy in there. And don't smear it all out. It'll make it so pretty. See, the thing is, you start to work on that, smear some of that out, and it will become kind of flat and lifeless. Okay, so don't work your colors quite so much. Okay, all right. So we have that color there. Let's cool it just a bit more. And let's drop one right down here. You could see the temperature difference, can't you? Here, let's drop one right down there. And let's add one a little warmer, not warmer, but a little bit, right back up here as a smaller little one maybe, right up there like that. So we're leaning them through like that. Let's grab some, let's think about our values here. We're about a 6 or so, so maybe I'll start out with my cooler quinacridone. And we'll push that in. Lift the pressure. Small little movements here. Lift the pressure, but my background here is a little darker, so I don't have to lighten it up quite as much as I did with the white one in the last lesson. Let's put a little bit of that quinacridone right down here, up onto this side. And let's take some of that. We'll put some right back down on to gaze this rose down this direction. Open that up a bit, and some down and around the bowl. Notice how really careful I am. I just love to splash color. And we'll take that quinacridone, and we'll do it up over here. Now that doesn't help me, this hasn't helped me yet identify my queen, because I have the same colors, but I do have the darker red-violet. The thing is to always get more contrast into your queen than I'm going to make that the queen, than you do any of the others. So now I'll take a little bit of my red-violet. I'll come in here, drop in a darker set of that red-violet, lift the pressure coming out, push around maybe a little bit so I don't get that dark all the way out. I don't want to create a hole here. Maybe pick up a little quinacridone to help soften that back here and keep that red-violet right down into the center. Now, since the rose here has quite a bit there, I can take just a little quinacridone and red-violet together and push just a little bit of that. Now that definitely, what that does is, that definitely takes that quite a bit darker. Now I could even take that, since there is a little bit of a value difference, temperature difference here, I can put a little bit into here, just as long as I don't detract from that. So you're seeing that front first. Now we're going to have the lights, but when you look at that, you see this volume of cool and dark here. That's quite large. So that's okay. So a little touch of that red-violet into here is enough. Just a little. Not as much as an area. And that goes to a thing we call area of color. So if I put a little dot of the red here, you see that. But that has more contrast. Your eye comes here first. Why? There's more of it than that. And the more I add, the more your eye holds to that. But it can have that, but you see that first. Okay? So you can keep that in mind as you're building colors and stuff, that you can definitely have some of that dark in there, but there's more of it there, and that's what keeps that eye up here. All right, let's get our warm back up here. Let's get a nice warm, maybe just a touch of that quinacridone in that. What's the lightest we can make this? Up towards our 10 or so, but for ease of painting, we're here probably a 7, so I wouldn't go anywhere. Maybe I'll do like an 8 or so here, 8 to a 9 first of a light pink, and strike that with a lot of paint right across the top front of that rose. That's up there about a 9 or so. It'll dry down to an 8. Now, what do? You incorporate it into the bottom of that bowl. You can push that around. Like I showed you in the last lesson, you could take some water. See, I just love that. I don't want to touch that. But I could take some water, and I could, just like I showed you in the last lesson, and soften that out. But I love that, so I don't want to touch it. Sorry, that one came out pretty, so I don't want to touch it. So I can drop it down now, cool it down just a bit here, and add some strokes to the other shadow side here. Just a little bit. Here, let's not make that quite so pointed like a V, and push that right in to that edge there. So we got a nice pretty little color. We can lighten a little bit, walk just a little bit right up in there. Now see how wet this stays? That's because I got a lot of paint down here. I've got a lot of paint. We can lighten that just a bit. Pull that down. Streak that in. And let's take some of that light here. Now, if you want to really keep it wet, you can put a little bit of extender in here. But the thing is about doing that is that you'll tend to put the same tone around everywhere because it stays wet. I like it where I have to mix it up a little bit every time because it starts to dry. And then I know I get a different color on my rose everywhere. So I'm not a real big fan. I mean, I like extender. And there's certain things I do, as long as you realize that you've got to change that tone. Maybe add a little bit of yellow and stuff to it. Change it around. That's what makes it, that's where the beauty in roses are going to come from, where those tones change. All right, so that goes on. Now we push in and out just a bit to create that movement and into the bowl, right around, and always pulling it right down into that bowl. So it puts the petal on. Let's cool this a little bit as we come around the corner down this way. So we'll cool that just a bit. Pull in and out of that bowl. Maybe a little bit. I'm going to just add a touch of water here. Pull in and out. I like to pull out onto the cool shadow side so I get a different look to the petals. So pull that out. Now, with some of that cool, I could add a bit of movement up around here if I wanted to on the back of that rose. Just push it around, leave smaller little movements though. But I don't always like to have, put a little cool color in there. I don't always like to have just a dot of dark. I like movement into that rose. That's when it gets really pretty. So this is going to be our queen. So we're going to warm up. We're going to keep this warm in the front. I love diluted yellow into some of those. Gets it a little bit orange there, but boy, is that nice and warm. Let's get some light here. Let's get some nice light. Get myself a fresh paper towel. Let's get some nice light here. I love this. See how the color is just so creamy. As I mix up a lot of paint and color, it just gets really creamy and nice, and I like that. So so I went like 1, 2, 3, just to extend that petal. Now what do? You incorporate it in. Now if you feel like, so I get these beautiful movements here of that cool color and stuff coming up. If you feel like you need to, do more, or you can't quite get it, you can always state a little red, quinacridone violet or so, right down into that bottom of it, right like that, and push up and in as well, and you'll push that color around. Just push that color around, just always pushing it into the shape of that flower. Let's even drop a little bit more, maybe a bit of red in that quinacridone. Nice deep color right into that area there. That's pretty color too. Not quite as cool. So let's put a little red right up there. Sometimes I'll take a little touch of like diluted or so and throw it in there too, and get that movement in and out and around. And see, I love those colors, and when we put petals on that, it's going to look amazing. Let's put some more quinacridone right down here. Push that in and out. So now I definitely, on this rose, have a nice cool side and a nice warm side here. Let's go up to the warm side. Let's work a little more pinky warm here. Let's restate some of that one just a bit. Sometimes I'll state these 2 or 3 times. So this time slightly different color, and we'll just push a little bit more. Pull down in, push up and down. You'll see more streaks, and you have to determine, do I like those streaks? If you think it's too much, just take a little more color, light pressure, and pull down, and that will soften it out. It's a choice that you make, and I try to always make my roses look different. So I'm going to leave this color out there. I may want to lighten it up later, but I'm going to pull in a second row of petals here, just a little bit lighter, and again incorporate that, push in and out like that. Let's push another one in here. Boom. So I've took this way, straight in, and this way. That turns the petal, and then push that right into the round shape here of the bowl, right in like that. maybe a little cooler, so we'll go over to this side. Can be a little light and cooler. Right over to this side. And we'll push one right in there. Let's put some of that right up here too on this side of the bowl. And then push that right into the bowl. That makes a nice pretty coloring there. And I start to look at it, it's like, how much lighter do I want to make it or so. I love that bit of orange coming in there because we'll let that bit of orange and then we'll change the others more pink. But we'll let that get up there. But I want to restate my light up here. So I'm, excuse me, I'm right up about an 8. And I want to go up to about a 9 or so, restate this front, pull in just a little bit more. Now why I want to do that is that roundness helps it come up just a bit. And we'll make it look almost like a different petal there, just by the angle there. So that's good. So let's just add more light here now. Let's get this nice and light and warm and just strike right there, right across the front of that area there. Okay, now what do? Besides go, oh, I just ruined my rose. No, you haven't done that. You can rinse your brush. If you don't want to push it, you know, I love to push it, but if you don't want to push it, take your brush, rinse it out, grab some water, and just start working the color back and forth, and that incorporates it. I love to push that color in and start to build that shape a little bit more that I want to have in that rose, the pulling up and down. I'm going to do this several times when I paint with a lot of paint. So I don't just paint a petal once sometimes when I got a lot of paint. So I'll paint that petal several times and push that right into that. That's where it gives me the prettiest of all the roses that all of you like. That little bit of extra movement that's right in there. You see, that was my finger that just went up and did that. I like that kind of stuff. I like that kind of movement. And I might add a little more pink over here and do this side and be very casual about it. Strike that. I might strike that one more time, nice and light, just like that, and push that right up. That's kind of pretty, kind of a pretty little rose. And we're not petaling heavy yet. We'll get into more petals later, but I might lighten that up and pull this one in a little bit more. Right down, what I'm going to do is think about the roundness of that bowl. Just pull that right down in there to the roundness of that bowl. And you can see that petal, see? And up here I'll stop at the bowl right there. And then that sets the petal in and around that bowl here. And so we'll put some light color right out here, stopping before you get to that bowl. And if you get rid of that, if you collide the two, just take some darker color like this, start right on that edge, and then just lift out like that. Lift off. I do a lot of painting out techniques. Just slide right like that and lift off. But see, you pick up the tiniest little bit of white there. Do you see that? Because I lifted off. And if I go touch that right back into here again, I end up putting that light color back in there, and it destroys the depth. So that's why I'm always wiping my brush. Always wipe your brush when you're doing these final little looks. Here's a little bit of the edge. I'll just pick up a little bit right here of this light, and I'm just going to just draw right along the edge there of this petal and put a little bit of light right there. And I can let's put a touch of that light right out here, pulling down, just lifting off. And like before, you can push that, okay? I can push that to soften it, or I can take a damp brush. Now I rinse my brush, pinched off some of the moisture, just take a damp brush and just run it a couple of times, and it'll blend it in. And we don't want to blend, but it'll incorporate the colors together. Let's just draw a little light, maybe a little edge there. That's kind of pretty. You can lift off. You can add more light. Let's add just a touch more light right up here, up onto this petal. Just draw the edge right like that. Pull in. And again, you can lift off, but I kind of like some of that extra movement that's right there in the rose. Let's put just a little bit of light this way so we don't get that rose cut right in half. How do you soften that down there? I can take some water, I can push. My favorite way is to push, but I can take some water and just pull through like that. I like that. Boom, boom, just touch that. And maybe a cool little mark right in here of a little petal. Get over here towards your cool sides. Here. Cool little petals coming in. You can deepen your shadow. Let's take a little quinacridone touch of red violet. You can deepen your bowl shadow if you want. Pull out like that. Okay, just keep it very simple here, and you have a nice looking rose here. Now, if you're bothered by that turning out, you can just just come up into this area. Let's add just a touch of water. Come up into here. Not as light as that front, and just add a little curved petal down like that. Just curve it down, and then round it slightly into the bowl and slightly into its center there, or you can use your brush. But see how that turns the rose there? Maybe a tiny touch of light right here, boom, and that softens the whole thing out. You can do it with one little mark, one little stroke, one little mark if you have your colors close to what you need. Now, I look for refinement. I look to say, okay, maybe I want to put just a touch more light and just a touch more light right in here like that and down right there. And I'm going to leave those little streaks in there because that just adds interest to the rose. But that's your call. And I might want to have just a little more light right here and let that come right down into that shadow right there. And that lightens up, so it definitely gives you a light side of the bowl and a shadow side of the bowl here. And how much you do that's your call. That's you. You decide. Everything is correct because it looks like a rose, so everything is correct. You just decide, I'm going to add just a touch more light. Now I like to push, so I get that movement. I like that movement going back and forth there through it. Oh, I pushed a little hard there and see a little bit of that color coming right up through the rose. I like that. That sometimes happens and you push really hard. I like that. That's kind of anchoring that rose to that background. And I kind of like that. We'll pull down just a bit to put that into the strokes there. And I'm going to leave it. That looks pretty good. I'm just going to leave it maybe a touch lighter up here. So you look, I'm watching those values and everything real close. I'm just going to take a tiny bit of red right there. And you can soften that. You can blend that out. I like to leave the marks. I don't like to blend, but that's just about all I want to do on that rose. I'm going to play with it too much. I don't want to do that. Now, we have our other ones. This one's sitting back behind that. Okay? Well, actually, since we're going to plow on some more, let's make that just a touch lighter. Since we have these other roses and stuff, let's just add a bit lighter there. That'll work. You can lift off and pull and do different things. Let's pull that one across. It gives a nice look. That's pretty nice. Okay, so we're coming down here. Now, so this is where we are. This is where we are with our queen right here. Let's keep that. Okay. Let's go down with our reds, our two reds, warm and cools. Keep it a little bit on the cool side. Let's start adding a little bit of light. So we're a little bit lighter, but we're nowhere near our queen here. Okay, we're nowhere near the queen. Let's stroke that. Boom. Push that on. Pull that around. Push that into place there. Again, you can use some water if you don't like that. I'm going to round it up to the bowl here. Round that right up into that rounding shape. So we're building the light side. Over here, we'll let the shadow side come in. Okay. Let's take some of this color and let's put out the suggestion of some of the petals coming out, and then just push them right into their shape. So now we have this real soft kind of rose shape developing here. Over here, let's get some shadow into it. Let's get a little red violet, a little darker color, so it's nowhere near as light. And let's just push a little bit of this cooler shadow in and out, in and out, in and out, and push in and out, in and out. That makes nice casual edges out there for that rose. Now, let's get some lighter. Let's go up a little lighter, maybe just a touch warmer. Don't go near that rose yet, but touch lighter, touch warmer. Let's stroke across here. And let's bring a light petal in here, like that. Push that right into the bowl. Okay. Maybe one right in here. Push that in and out of the bowl there, like that. So you can see I'm watching, I'm developing the shape. Push that in and out. Getting some of that movement. That's what I like. I like to push that, and sometimes you create little holes and stuff, and that's all right. Let's put a little bit of that there, a little bit of that rounding up right here onto that. Let's go back down towards more quinacridone, touch of violet maybe here, put a little bit of movement into the center here. And if you get too much, like I kind of took out just a bit too much there, just grab your red violet, your quinacridone, put it on your brush, and restate your shadow coming in and out. I love to do that. Sometimes you make a prettier center by just restating that dark in there one more time. Quinacridone with just a little bit of that red violet, keeping that down, moving that out and around. Let's push a little bit of that into that shadow there. Now, let's get just a touch lighter. Cool, nice cool light, maybe just a touch warmer. Getting up closer to it, but I'm still not as light as that front of that other one there. Let's develop our light here. Maybe another smaller little petal there. And push in and out. And let's strike right across the front. Leave a little space across the front. Push that right into the bowl. A little bit more light. Push into the bowl. You can strike any kind of petal you want. Just push it down there into the bowl. Here. There, like that. Makes a nice, soft, pretty little rose. Here. Drop this in a bit more light right there. Push that in and out. Now I really I want to get some warmer color. Everything there is kind of cool, so I want to get a little bit warmer. Now I'm in danger. I'm a little grayer, still a little cooler, but I'm real close in value to this one. So I either have to lighten that one or darken this one. So I just darkened it just a little bit. Let's kind of keep an eye on this, and let's stroke, pull in some of this color, and just set that in on that rose on that side. Maybe a little angled petal here. Here like that. Now I've lost some of my bowl shadow there. And is it bad? No, it's not really bad, because we have a nice looking rose. But how do you make this look lighter without adding more white and get you in trouble here? And restate your darks. Before you go add any more light, decide whether or not you need to add more light. Restate your darks here. Get the dark contrast back in. A little bit of violet, a little bit of the red violet, a little bit of quinacridone violet. Get those back in there and keep those, and that will make the others look a little bit lighter as well. Then we can touch a little bit more light. And remember, it's also amount, how much amount I use of the light. but I want to draw a lighter, warmer petal right across here, because now I'm up towards the front of this rose. So we'll put one in there. Lighten this one up just a bit. Here. And we'll strike right across the front of that rose there. And we'll see how that looks in conjunction with that. Not too bad. The drops off a little bit right over here, so we'll just add some quinacridone, take the color a little darker here, and just add some shape, just a little bit of shape here, which gives it really just a little more movement, and that makes the rose really kind of pretty there. Now, in bringing these two together, I can take some of this color that I just used there, and if I use it over on this side of the rose, just like that, you'll see all of a sudden the harmony starts to come. Do you see that? And if I take just a tiny, don't even clean this, I'm going to add just a little extender. If I take just the tiniest little bit of this lighter, warmer color here, and we start to put some of that right up here, just a little bit lighter on the tip, not as much as I do there, but on the tip of this one, of these petals that are coming right up here by this other rose, then what I do is I harmonize that color coming back this way. So I harmonize the cooler pink up on the shadow side, the warmer color right back up into here, and I bring the two roses a little closer together where your eye doesn't jump between the two here quite as much. And I'm just going to push that color around like that. And it makes so the two go together, but yet the two are also different from each other. But definitely by how we're working this other one here and the amount of light that we're adding up into this one, let's add even just a little bit more light into our queen, just a bit more. Restate it one more time right up here. Then we definitely know we have the queen there. We definitely see the queen, and then that does give us a little more room to, stroke again on the bottom one, a little bit more light if we want to. We'll just push a little bit on the edge and just push that in. So see a little bit more light. We can take just a bit of that light and just add it down here, as long as we don't get as much there. And we won't disturb the queen too much. She won't get angry at us. Take a little bit of this lighter pink up over here and push just a bit of light on that side. It's a balancing act, but any of these looks are okay. Anything that we've done so far is okay. It all looks nice. So it's all just how much you want to do. And this is what I want you to show. I'm looking at both roses, mainly balancing against the queen. But I'm always watching, and that's why they get so pretty, is I'm always watching my color exchanges between the roses. And I look to harmonize them. So cool going up, warm coming down. I look to harmonize them. I look to control their petals, their edges. This one has just a few petals. That one has a few more petals and lighter petals. Time for a fresh paper towel. And it's that kind of balancing that we're going to do. And as we move into intermediate and advanced lessons, we're going to do it even more. Okay? So it looks like this rose is really hard to paint, but it really isn't. If you start at the top of the bowl, start at the outside, and then just make some marks, always curving to the bowl on the inside. Let what happens happen. Okay? And if you don't like something, let it tack up a little bit. Okay? Don't try taking it off or blending it out. For all of it, don't blend it out. Don't get rid of the movement. That's what makes your rose pretty. You get rid of the movement, it becomes stiff and flat. Okay? And you can always come back and revisit. I can always come back right here and say, oh, I'm going to take even a little lighter color right here, right on that edge, and just make a quick strike, just like that. And it looks good because it's real close, And you know, it just fits right into everything that I've done so far. So, and that looks good. And you know, with the more advanced rose, I'd be putting in some chiseled petals up into here, and we'd be doing a few more things. But for that type of rose, that looks pretty darn good. All right, so this one we want to keep even simple. Keep very simple. Let's get back to our cool color, maybe just a little bit of our warm. Here we are. So we want to push this one back a little further. Maybe a little yellow into that. It's a little, I can make it a little warmer because it's up closer to the light. But let's just put some of this, very simple, curve it around a bit, push it right into the bowl, right like that. Leave some of that movement. Leave that movement right there. Don't get rid of it. Let's cool it. Drop this in, right around here like that. That's kind of pretty. And then we'll add some lighter color here, and we'll come in and maybe make a little petal pulling in, push in and out. Use lots of paint so you can push in and out, so you have some of that room to push in and out. Let's lighten up a little petal coming in, push in and out. That's pretty good. Cool it down a bit, darken it down a bit. Let's just add a little bit of movement back here. Just let that kind of sit like that. Let's cool this down, darken it down, pull just some movement out through here. Just push and pull some movement in there. Leave that just about like that. Now let's lighten up. Work smaller. Here, round that around a bit, push that right into the bowl. That's what makes a pretty rose, right into the bowl. Maybe work another little light petal right there, right into the bowl, right like that. Pretty little shape. And it's a smaller little shape. We can take a tiny bit. See, I slide my chisel like this. I can take a tiny little bit and round that edge there, like that, make a few petals, rounds up. I can take some darker color here, add just the corner of the brush, a little bit of movement into that center of that rose. That's pretty there as well. Maybe a touch of light here up onto the edge. And then it's how light do you want to go? Watching that right there, we can come up pretty close to that light, especially if we want to put one right up next to that other one there, that other petal there. So I can come up a bit lighter here, but not so much light that it's going to interfere with the queen. Right? That's the rule. So let's pull down here just a bit of that light. Pull that down. Maybe just a touch lighter. Here, like that. There we go. And let's add just a touch, maybe that's too light, just a little cooler. A little bit out through here on this side of the rose, just to suggest those petals again. So that's kind of a pretty little run of that light coming down through there like that. You can add more, you can do more, you can do whatever you want. But now I get those roses, look how it's pushed back some of that movement into the background. Now let's take some of our burnt sienna, a little bit of our green here, and let's add some of our nice chisel edges of our stems, where those would come through here. And very light pressure, lots of paint, but light pressure. That's what gives you the prettiest stems here. Add a little bit of the movement out and through here, which is great way just to get takes your eye, moves your eye around here. Let's take some of that dark like this. You can do some negative painting out here like this and pull out a bit and shape up any part of the rose that you might want. You can cool your green down here with some, take your green and your red violet, nice, cool, deep, dark color. Sometimes I'll add a little bit of burnt sienna into that, just a bit, just to vary it. But you can use that cool right in here, and that real cool color increases the contrast of your painting there. Also increases the, makes all the roses look lighter, because now they're looking up against a dark color, simultaneous contrast. Okay? So it's, you know, a lot of times if you don't want to, if you like your rose and you don't want to lighten them again, if you come out, put a darker color out around an edge of them or something like that, they will appear lighter. Okay? So, you know, you could use this to come out here and, you know, do a little shaping of the back edge of the rose. This is negative painting. You know, do a little shaping back edge. Leave a little space with some of that background color, and you make that rose look very transparent. You don't want to go around everywhere, but, you know, just some nice areas, like right in here like that, just makes the rose pop off more. Okay? So don't go all the way around, but I'd like pick one little area back here like this and just say, okay, we'll round the rose right in here like this, a little area, and pull in and out, and all of a sudden it pops off that rose here, gets some of that movement and stuff. That's one reason why I love all the movement that's in the background, because it can hide everything that you want to do to the roses like this. So, you know, like we can pop a little edge like right in there, and that background can hide some of that movement. You don't have to be smooth with it, and I love that. Let's work some leaves. First we'll go slightly more burnt sienna and green. We'll thin this out. Let's put some of these on first. I love this color, especially if I head towards the kind of orangey color. You know, that's the young rose leaves that are always down by the bottom here. You get that burnt sienna, a little bit of that darulite, a little bit of your green in there like that. Get a leaf down like this, and maybe one pulling in, smaller one pulling in like that, a little bit of a tip there. You can give it a bit of a stem, whatever. Let it sit for a second, then just lift off. Lift off a bit, so you create just a little touch of a highlight there. And work some of those around. Let's thin this out quite thin, so we can do some out here, right out like that, that are just thin. That'll be thin color, so they're not quite as you know, dramatic or contrasty. It's very thin little color. We'll put some thicker ones up through here, but just thin it out with a little water or a little extender. Water is, I like water for this, but sometimes stroking with extender is really nice. So both of them work. It just helps you thin it out. Let's put a little more color into that green, into that one there, and maybe a little more green into one coming this side. Again, I like to vary the colors that I use in my leaves and everything that I do. I like to constantly change the colors, sometimes pull out, change the colors, change the techniques a bit, try some different things. See, I like that green and that modeling color in there. That looks pretty good. Push a little bit of that right up and around in there. We can head over to the lights. Take green and some of your burnt sienna. Maybe cool that just a bit with some quinacridone. Not green and burnt sienna, green and yellow oxide. Sorry about that. And let's drop a lighter one out here, right off of that one. Okay, so it's a little bit lighter. So these leaves, and you don't want to put them too much, like I don't want to line one up right here, because that would just give you a lot of power there. So what I'll do is I'll pick a crossing one coming the other way here, that this line will And I sometimes like to leave a little bit of the space, but see, that will break that line and add the interest to it that I'm looking for. So don't always pull off of underneath the queen. You can put the leaf underneath the other ones too, and where they'll cross like that, and that adds interest. And you can take a darker touch of green, maybe a little more pine green here, darker touch of green, and add a green shape right in here, like that's a lower leaf underneath, and that looks great there like that too. But then, you know, add a few leaves going around here. Let's just add a few leaves going around, and boom, just a few. Let these just kind of fade off here. A little bit of that color. Let's put a little bit of that green over there, and maybe a real toned thin one, slightly different color. Back up over here, look at that kind of yellowish kind of color there. That's kind of pretty, little toned one there. Different. I like to always change their colors. There we go. And those are kind of pretty. Let's put just a bit more of that green right up here. Little touches of that maybe through the background there as well. Now let's just lighten that up a bit. A little more yellow. Whenever I lighten a green, I always like to add a little more yellow. Gets a little warmer. Let's put some of that light onto the light side. Push in and out. I like to push the leaves so that they have the same painting interest, same painting techniques that are on the roses, so the two harmonize together. If you use one technique to paint a leaf and then another technique to paint a rose, the two will not sit in harmony with each other because the techniques are totally different. And I've seen that over the years so many times. And so we want to use the same technique. So we'll put some light on like this, and then we'll push in and out of that center vein line, where that center vein line will be. And so then the leaves and the roses will harmonize together here. Let's make that just a touch lighter, touch greener. Two of them right there are pretty close to each other. So we'll make one just a bit different. There we go. Just a bit more color, a little bit different there. And take some of that light, some of that dirty color there, light color. Use the chisel of your brush and give them a little vein line. Something about a little vein line that just adds that extra little bit of movement that I like in a painting. Here, a little vein line, soft. Darken this down a bit, put some here. This could have just a touch more light on it. That pulls down that way. Sometimes when I look at the painting like this, and I'll say, okay, that looks pretty good, and you know, and I used to be really, really happy with that. I'm gonna take you just a touch farther this time. I'll put a little bit of color. I feel like the color's isolated, just right through here like that. So I'm going to take a little bit of green first, and I'm going to move that out. That's my green color I'm going to move out. But then I'll clean that brush, and we can use even a little green in that color. But I'll take a little bit of my reds. Let's put a little green in here. Now, why the green? Because see how it grays it down, tones it down. So let's take some of those colors, a little more red and violet, so it's a little darker. Tone it down. We'll thin it out. And I'll brush some of that color out till like into these areas, and just run it with my finger. Sometimes I'll create a little shape with it or something. You know, sometimes I might take a little cool color here, tone it down, and just create like a little rose shape or something like that, of just an impression of the three circles there, taking it out. And that gives you the idea that, or the feeling that there's something else back there, or the look of another rose. So this doesn't stop right there. So we might take some of this nice color here and just plow some of it right up here like this. boom. Let that just all blurry out right up there like that. Maybe take just a touch of the darker but toned. Touch of our darker. Just to say there's kind of a rose shape there as it's fading away back up there to the top. And sometimes I'll pull through that and push that around, but you see the color back up through there again. That's what I'm looking for. The strikes of this color. That's so it doesn't just isolate the rose like in just one area here. This is what I do when I get very contemporary, is that I'll just pull the color out and pull the color like that out. I don't even have to have a rose shape. I just pull the color out. And that might be a bit heavy right there. It's easy. Just take a bit of water right with it and just pull right through it and take some of that out. But see, I like that color. Like I say, I look for the colors. I like that color pulling out there like that. That's kind of pretty. And let's pop some of that right down here. It's kind of pretty. Take away that rose just a bit. There like that. And it's a very contemporary way, a very contemporary look to it. So here you've balanced it out. We've got a different color. That looks pretty good. A different color, slightly different, but they work through the lights. They harmonize up here through the cools. I could harmonize this other rose a bit more. I don't mind it where it is like that, but if I took a little bit of that quinacridone right into some of this and we headed towards that quinacridone kind of cool, and we add just a bit of that over here, you can see how that, boom, here it picks up the quinacridone, see? Picks that up through it. You could add that quinacridone into the background. I've seen it, I've added sometimes quinacridone to the leaves, sometimes to harmonize some of this stuff. So, I'll drop a little bit of the pinks and stuff over the flower or the leaves to get them into the whole feeling as well. Or a nice dirty, like a burnt sienna, pinky burnt sienna into it, and just drag some of that over it. That just helps harmonize, puts the color into it there like that, and you can see that sets the whole feeling, of the flower. Let's go just a touch darker right here coming out. That'll deepen the throat of that rose just a bit, and it's a little wonky right there, so I'm going to take some of my cool color, maybe just a touch of that warmth, and cut across just a bit so it's not quite so wonky. Push it, just a quick, and if you do it quick and do it with like you know what you're doing, it'll look great. If you go at it timid and something, it won't. All I wanted to do was round that up just a bit. Like sometimes I don't like the big deep V there, so I'll just take a lighter color and I'll just cut across, right across like that, into a rose, and take some of the V out, that V shape out. It's just little things. Sometimes it bothers me, sometimes it doesn't bother me, and it does that. But you can see, you can paint a beautiful, even as a beginner, you can paint a beautiful rose composition if you slow down. Okay, now this one took us 52 minutes. Okay, a little bit faster than the last one, working out a little faster. But slow down like I did in the last lesson with the light ones. Okay, apply your values. Think of your values going through there. Look at the values of your light. Look at the values of your dark. So that red violet is the darkest. You can use it in all the flowers, but use it more in your queen, and she'll have more contrast. Same with the lights. You can use the same light in all of them, but if you use it more in the queen, she'll control. Give the queen more petals. Give the queen more streaks. Make her slightly bigger. All of those things. Control your composition so that when you look at something like this, your eye comes in, sees that first, and then moves out. And that's what we want to do. And I can control the light even further. If I lit up this one a little bit more than this one, I could force your eye to bounce and go 1, 2, 3. I could, bring the light up a little bit closer in here and cause your eye to come right up here and then down to here. But I kind of like it coming in and then working that way too. It's all a little bit different. And you'll do them all, really. When you paint roses and you paint as many roses as I do, you'll have an idea and you'll end up painting them all, and they'll all be fun and they'll all be great, okay? And it will take you a little bit of practice to get this entire plan up here to where you can paint from it, okay? So watch these beginning lessons many times until you can run through all of these beginning steps without having to look at any of your notes or without having to, to watch the video. You're thinking ahead of what I'm doing. Where am I applying that dark? Where am I applying that light? Am I pushing with my finger to give movement? Am I softening with a wet brush? Okay? Taking that petal, remember, taking that petal and just coming right down and around into the bowl is a great way. Underneath the bowl, sneaking it underneath that bowl. Never lose that bowl shadow. Thinking about those things there. So you can do that time and time and time again, and your roses will improve. Okay? You don't have to have the petals great. You really don't. As long as you have a bowl and a center, it'll look like a rose. That's all it takes. Okay? And don't try to copy mine. I want you, like I said in the last lesson, I want you to find your calligraphy with this rose. Okay? I can't paint that rose exactly the same the next time because I paint it with a casual edge and pushing with my finger. And the next time the color won't push the same. Okay? That's what makes them beautiful. It also makes it hard to copy and gives you some frustration. But don't get frustrated. All right? Okay. So there you have those. Practice those up. Paint them several times. Change colors. Paint some yellows with the 3 things like this. Okay? Paint them. Paint again. Paint again. Paint again. And paint again. Then we'll move over to some more intermediate lessons. We'll add more things to the rose. Okay? All right. I'll see you over there.